Good googly moogly. Hello, good morning. Good morning. How's everybody doing today? Oh, there I am. Okay, good. Boy, I tell you what, I was thrown off because I got a diva in the building today. hmm Showed up 2 minutes before airtime with like four makeup people, a hair person, which for the life of me I don't understand, and then all this bottled water and pedicures and manis and stuff he needed before he would even consider coming on. I speak, of course, of the Bald Avenger, and you guys know what I'm talking about, right? I'm kidding. How are you? Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Loren Michaels Harris. Had a little bit of difficulty this morning, but nonetheless, here we are. And we are streaming. That's right. And that's what happens when you're streaming live. You deal with a lot of live and real life issues, just like everyday life. We are streaming live right now across Facebook, YouTube, Roku, Android, Apple TV, Periscope, and of course, E360 TV Live. I want to send a shout out to my boy, Joshua T. Berglund, the host of Gratitude Unfiltered. His show precedes this one. So if you want to get up a little bit early or you want to go back and catch the replay, get over to Gratitude Unfiltered, the Facebook page, and take a look at what he's doing. Also, good morning and thank you to this week's sponsor. We actually have a new sponsor for next week, which will be Symposium, the app that you have seen me use from time to time. They'll be next week's sponsors, but this week's sponsor, as you see at the top of the screen, is Personal Victory Counseling, where Dr. Brian Rybczynski and his team are helping people become triumphant over life's challenges one day at a time. And you can reach them at area 630-375-7416 or find them on the web at personalvictorycounseling.com. personalvictorycounseling.com. And so here we are, my last announcement before I bring our guest in. Well, I'm going to show you some things first. You guys, there it is. Which way? I point that way. A week from today is our event here in Chicagoland area, Naperville to be precise. I speak of the Discover the Author and Speaker in You full day interactive workshop. The first part of the day, we're going to get you out of your seat and on your feet, showing you how to find that perfect blend of your message so that it resonates, lands, and hits the mark with all who you're trying to reach. So then during the lunch hour, it's a working lunch. You're going to get breakfast, you're going to get lunch, and you're going to listen to Dr. James Dentley. He's going to lay out a whole bunch of golden platinum nuggets during lunch. Then we go directly into the second half of the day, which is all about your book, all about the written word, whether it's a blog, a newsletter, articles for magazines, or like I said, a book. We're going to talk about all that, the ups, the downs, the woes, and the wins. So make sure if you want to get in, get over to Eventbrite, type in Discover the Author, and you'll get the rest. It'll pop right in, and you can join us next Friday at White Eagle Golf Club here in Naperville. So there's that. Enough of that. So let's see. What do I have here? Okay, here's a picture I want to show you. Our guest. Now, I saw this floating around the internet last week. I forgot there was a Super Bowl, to be honest. And if nothing else, I like to catch the Super Bowl for the commercials, but I didn't. And I saw this picture of our guest today, and it's a CERT team, and I know those are like emergency teams, and it was something about Super Bowl. So we're going to talk about that. I know it was with trafficking, and Jason does a lot of stuff with the Underground Railroad. He does a lot of stuff with all kinds of stuff. Feed a Billion, the Cat Dawn organization, A New Dawn, helping domestic violence situations. I'm gonna bring you in just a second, so sit tight. You're good. And I see him in the green room. He's getting antsy. I don't think he's quiet for more than 10, 15 seconds at a time. And so he's been in there all the time we've been on, and I know it's driving him nuts. So there's a picture we're going to have him talk about today. And then I wanted to show you a clip, you guys, if you would bear with me here. I'm going to share my screen and let you see a little bit about what he's doing in just a week or so, a couple weeks, down in Naples, Florida. Here it is. It's the Unstoppable Business Growth. Hold on. Take a look. righty then. Um, Whew, that was a hot one, right? So, and another thing, Jason has done a lot of stuff for what I do, working with kids, and I speak of the Power of We symposium. And I wanted you guys to get a look at just not just what he's doing with Unstoppable, which is a growth conference geared, I'm assuming, for the business world and you as a personal entrepreneur, what you need to get yourself going. But I wanted you to see a softer side of Jason in what he does with us and has done a couple times over. Take a look.
Power of Action was chosen for me because that resonates in my own life. The reason why I'm here for these children, to be able to lift them up, to be able to give an example, which is the exact reason why I'm on stage most of the time anyway, is because my life is an example of where you can come from and where you can get to over time. And that takes action. It takes strategy, it takes knowing where you want to go, but it takes a lot of action. And there's those moments in life when you're handed a choice and an opportunity. I want you to think about that for just a second. From your own perspective, from your own life, what got you here? The opportunities that you've got. Where are you headed? Is there a failure that I could talk about that would be the linchpin to where I am today? Where do we start? I honestly would say that the failure has been, there's multiple failures along the way. And I literally pushed the envelope of not doing, I don't want to do the things that I did yesterday because I'm going to get yesterday's result. And so I know that I have to do things differently today, and inherently in that is going to be the failure embedded in it. There's going to be mistakes that I make, there's going to be corrections, there's going to be measurement, there's going to be the opportunity to shift and change my perspective and to change my approach and to take different actions, use different words, use different thoughts, surround myself with different people.
So there you have it. I'm going to get Jason in here right now and add him in, bring him in. Bear with me. Here we go. Jason, are you ready? Say something, Jason. He should be coming any second. Okay. Hello. Now, where is Jason? Jason, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Jason? Okay. Oh, boy. Oh, shoot. I think you're here. Can you hear me? Baldavinger? Jason? Okay. Jason, can you hear me? Hello? Jason? What the heck? Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Jason, can you hear me?
I got you.
Oh, there you are. Okay. For some reason, I could hear you, but you couldn't hear me, and you are now streaming.
We're
Thank
live?
goodness. Yes, and I'm telling you what, it's like every time you think, okay, this is going so smooth. I've learned I was knocking on all kinds of wood. So welcome. Sorry about that.
That's all
Uh,
right. I want to make sure I'm over here and I want to share. So
well, sure. And let me scoot out of the frame. I'm trying to make you a little bit bigger, if that's even possible.
if that's even possible. All right.
And how's the lighting here?
All right, let's share this
I'm in
real
a
quick.
temporary studio upstairs in Brian's Northwoods bedroom because of the broadband signal being stronger. Yes, and I am sharing as we speak as well. Okay, good. There we go. There you are. Awesome. So, how are you?
I'm amazing, brother. How you doing? Good to see
I'm
you.
good to see you too. I'm good. I'm good. I'm staple free today, and uh, moving along, keeping it going. So, how excited? How excited are you for Naples? Tell us about it.
I can't wait, man. I can't wait. First off, congratulations on the new location, the new show, the new
Mm,
format, your knee surgery. Missing Brian, I was telling
yeah.
you before we were on here, I'm going to just make a special trip up to come hug you guys.
Ah. Well, we can't wait to have you. Yeah, yeah. It's snowy. It's a pretty clear, beautiful day. But you got snow where you live too. So.
Yeah, I mean, it was snowing pretty much all day yesterday. This last little Super Bowl mission that we were on was it was freezing out there and doing that kind of work.
What was that? Here, let me put some more light on me. What was that? Tell us about that. Because I read it, but it told me enough a little, but I still didn't really get it all. I mean, I
Yeah,
saw
it's
the dog. I saw the dog in the picture, and I saw that other scary guy.
yeah. He's actually one of the coolest cats, man. He's a force ex-force recon Marine, and just a group of people. And that unfortunately the worst time in the world, anywhere in the world, for trafficking is Super Bowl weekend. And
Oh,
so yeah, there's different. This will be my fourth year doing something over that weekend, and that was my 20th mission. And essentially we coordinate with different people, and we go out and we find abducted little girls and try to reunite them with their families.
so you were out. You guys were here in the States?
Yep. Yep. And I normally do a lot of stuff overseas, and this one was in the country, and it's brutal, man. I mean, I love it was with CERT Ministries. That guy, the scary guy that you're talking about, is Pastor Rudy.
Okay.
Really, really great man. And he runs a Christian based organization that is comprised of ex military, special forces, FBI, law enforcement of all
Okay.
kinds that are real professionals, and I just can't say enough about their organization. It's really great to hang out with them, and they're very very dedicated. They're all very very professional and good at what they do. It was just an honor to be able to hang out with people like that are
Yeah.
1,000% dedicated to the rescue of those that are in bondage. You know.
Now, I had a guest about a month ago, I'd say. His name was Michael, and he owns Sequoia Supply Company here in the town I live in.
Uh-huh.
And he too, he and his wife are dedicated. What they do is they have a business out of their garage where they hire women who are being reintroduced into society after having come out of trafficking.
Uh-huh.
And he had just returned from a trip to the Philippines where he went as an undercover John, and he had some stuff that he had to keep his hand moving and stuff, but he was filming, and it was a great show. We had over 3,000 views on that show, and
Wow.
people, and I know they were sitting there like me, like,
Yeah.
you really don't get it until you see it.
Yeah, it's and I get asked a lot of questions. Some things I can say and some things I can't. But I think the underlying principle is that we should be fighting for those that can't fight for themselves. And in this era of everybody's a victim, and if everybody's a victim, nobody is. We forget that there's people. I mean, the organizations that I love, and yours is one of them. With the kids, the power of we. that we really fight for people that actually don't have a choice, right? That to me is a true victim, is somebody that has had choice ripped away, whether that's a domestic violence woman who is trapped in her own home. It's a prisoner in her own home because of a man that keeps her in bondage, or kids that have been abducted, and trafficking, kids that are starving around the world. It's not their choice.
Sure.
It's not their choice to starve. And then, some of these kids that are born into poverty in the inner city that really don't have a choice. And
It's a lot.
that's the place. If you support true victims and stop being a victim yourself, then you see where your role can be in ending bondage and these types of horrible things. Our big thing is with Misfit Nation is easing suffering in the world. So it is what it is, man. Just some beautiful. You see some of the most beautiful moments, and you see some of the most horrifying moments. And being number 20, and 20 is my lucky number. It's 2020, and being that this was, mission number 20 for me, it was very, very special for some of the things that I saw.
Yeah.
And one of them, I'll just kind of relate this. I'm going to talk a lot about this on Just Jason Monday on the Bald Avenger show on Monday. But there's always a moment that sticks with me when I go and do this kind of work. And there was this moment, and it was freezing outside. I mean, it was, and we had located a young lady, and that people had been looking for, and we found her, and and we were waiting for law enforcement to show up and to support and whatnot. And there was this one gentleman, I won't say anybody's name because it's their job to tell their own story, but
Sure.
he was standing outside the car in the freezing cold, and it took about an hour for our law enforcement support to show up, and just didn't move. And this young lady rolled down her window at one point in time and said, aren't you freezing? And he said, yeah, I am freezing. It's very cold out here. And she said, I can't believe that this is all for me. And he looked at her and he said, and it's going to be very hard for me. I'm still emotional about this whole trip, but he said to her, he goes, oh baby girl, you've got 33 people that have been searching for you, praying for you, and loving on you that you don't even know yet. And it's to be taken, or to be lost, or to feel like you don't belong, and to think that nobody's looking for you and nobody cares about you, to all of a sudden have all of that love thrust on you is just to see it. And this was a big, gruff, ex-military, ex-cop guy that just was so gentle and so loving and so sacrificial, standing out there freezing his toes off. So,
Yeah.
it's beautiful moments like that stand out, that say, it's worth it. The collective for the one, the collective for the one. And we're in a society that it's the collective against the one, where people want to be Democrats or Republicans or whatever, and they forget that the beauty of America is it's in diametric opposition to the rest of what society tells you, where I've got to be a Democrat. No matter what a Democrat says, whether it's right or wrong, we stick with that tribe. And instead of saying, you know what, Democrats can be wrong, Republicans can be wrong. How can we figure out how to do the right thing in the middle? And we've lost a little bit of that. But I see it when I'm working in this environment. I see people from all across the spectrum come together and forget about their individual rights, right? I live by the premise that we're supposed to get to be as good as we can for the purpose of serving other people. And a lot of people miss that next step, right? Of serving other people. Serving who? Serving people that need you, loving on somebody that needs it, hugging somebody, holding somebody's hand, smiling at somebody. These simple things that say that I'm doing the things that I'm doing so that I can serve and ease suffering in the world. And we miss that. And that's a big piece of progress. People wonder why they're miserable, why they're sad, why it's because you're focusing too much on your own bullshit and forgetting that out there in the world is where you should be spending your energy, because it's limitless. People say, I'm tired, I'm wore out. Well, maybe focus outwards a little bit. Take that thing and attack righteous causes,
Well,
and you never know what's going to show up.
and I want to say this too, because a lot of people, Jason, and I include myself in that from time to time. A lot of people really underestimate their presence. And what I mean by that is, they think that in order to do what you're saying and be a part of that type of movement, they have to have photos like what you just showed us with the pastor, that
Mhm.
sort of a thing, to be a part of something that huge. And that's not necessarily true. There
Well,
are I see that you're frozen on the screen, but hopefully that'll break and get going. Um, I mean, sometimes when I'm sure you've done this, you look at you go through your different social media things and you'll see a comment from somebody, or someone will say that, and it may be 2, 3 months old. It just happened to me the other day where some woman left a thing and she said, I can't begin to tell you what today's show did for me and this, that, and the other. And I looked at it, it was all the way back in September. But she had sent it to my website and I missed it. And I just sat there and I went right back in though and responded and apologized for missing it. But those things happen from time to time. And it reminds me that if you just consistently show up and do something, you know,
It's those small moments, brother. I mean, behind that picture, there's a lot of stuff we can't say. There's a lot of stuff we can't show, and
yeah.
there's a thousand moments that other than that picture that were so important. Like I said, that one moment where he expressed to this little girl who had a very rough life and a very bad experience with men, to say, you know what, not everybody's bad. It's that moment, right? Those moments that we can all share, and it becomes something that you get addicted to, right? You're addicted. I've seen that there's two types of addiction in this world. There's addiction to our self, and to our petty issues, right?
Mhm.
And there's addiction to service and love to other people. And people look at that term love, and they think of, because it's the power is taken away from the word love, because people don't, they say it but they don't demonstrate. You know this in your own life, is
Yeah.
that to love is fucking difficult. Like it takes strength, it takes sacrifice, it takes humility, it takes those moments to actually demonstrate love. Because sometimes when you're demonstrating love, when you're executing on love, it doesn't feel good to you, because you're having to sacrifice part of who you are, right? And to be able to lift somebody else up. And it's, I don't know why we got on this subject, but but I think you're right, man. It's, if we could all focus outward a little bit more and realize, you never know, because that gentleman could have just said, yeah, I'm cold, and left it at that. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
he forever changed her life with that one moment, to say, we're out here. We love you.
Right.
We'll put ourselves in danger to find you. You are not alone. There are good men out here that you can trust and that you can put your faith in. And it's those moments. It's those little tiny moments that make all the difference. And you never know the ramifications, the long-term ramifications of your actions.
That is so true. That is so true. And you see it, and I want people to understand, whatever it is that you do, that what was chosen for you and what you chose in return from the offerings presented to you by what you believe to be greater than you. Sometimes we have to have a Johnny's Appleseed mentality, where you
Yep.
have to be willing to not see the orchard in its fullness, but just know that you cast your seeds out, and that the soil that you were working from is great soil, and just have faith that something's going to germinate
Well, we
along the
live
way.
we live in a society. It's a great point, brother. Which we live in a society that I say something and it must happen now, and it's not a principle, right? I mean, it's prevalent in social media, where people are looking for fame rather than outcome, rather than impact, rather that they're
Oh,
spending so much time for attention that they forget about depth, they forget about
mhm.
connection, they forget about, like I tell people all the time, Misfit Nation, I love Misfit Nation, and it's not giant. There's not millions of us, but the ones of us that are in it are doing something. You know what I mean? And we're
Yeah.
holding each other accountable, and we're delaying. We're investing now for your Johnny seed. That's a Johnny Appleseed mentality. It's such a beautiful analogy that people forget to sow. What they want is they want to say in their head, "I've got an apple tree and it's not there," and so they quit. Instead of understanding, you got to put it in the ground, you got to water it, you've got to fertilize it, you've got to be patient, you've got to sow that soil, you got to sow before you can reap, right?
Yeah.
And where you're sowing your soil, right? It's either in the flesh, right? I'll use a little bit of spiritual. It's either in the flesh, which is never, it doesn't go anyway. We're dead, right? We're dead, or it's in spirit, and spirit lives beyond us, and into at least that's how we leave a legacy, I believe.
I agree. I just created a meme a couple weeks ago that I haven't even put out yet, but I think I will today. Because and it says, you are never truly alone, especially when you're all by yourself.
Oof.
And yeah, and
Mm.
and you know how that came about. It was because it dawned on me a few weeks ago. I was moving nearer to my event next week and looking down the road of 2020 of some of the things that are happening, and looking back over my shoulder to the years preceding, to some of the things that have already happened. And it dawned on me, Jason, where I was like, we really have to be okay with the feeling of invisibility.
Mm.
Because I know for decades I felt like I was invisible in this world, but I was invisible and unhappy. But
Mm.
today I'm so happy, so fulfilled that it's okay to feel like it's invisible, because the feeling of fitting in, the feeling of understanding, the feeling of I know now that a little bit of something is much more rewarding than a whole lot of nothing. And a lot of us, when we do all these grandiose things, and we feel like, oh, look at me, look at me, look at me, Marsha, and then it never gives us what we're looking for, and we wonder why. It's those moments like you just described with that young man who stayed outside that car and said that one thing. That's, you've heard me say before, how like in the grocery store, how many times, I'm not kidding you, it still just boggles my mind. Try it. If you see somebody in the grocery store and they seem all alone, I get directed to them. And if it's just, you do a top to bottom inventory, it's not hard to find something to compliment somebody on, or say something nice to them. And every time I've done that, I go over, I say, I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but I just want to say this to you, how they will find me later a few aisles or rows over in the store, and they'll come up, and more than not, they'll just lean in and they'll say, thank you. You have no idea how badly I needed to hear that. And that always haunts me. That always haunts me. It's always like, what was really going on that I had no knowledge of?
Not for us to know. Not for
Isn't
us to know.
exactly the Johnny? And you have to
Yeah.
keep moving, but it just, it makes it so easy to get out of my head and just look for some place to be of service, even a compliment. That's still being of service, right?
Yeah.
So we're at 20 till, we've got 20 minutes here, and I want to get into where did you get this? What made you move into the Unstoppable? How did you come up with the title? Growth conference, all of it. Paint us into this portrait.
Well, you know me for a while, and one of the things that eating your own dog food sucks sometimes, right? And
Mhm.
and so the Unstoppable platform is a culmination of years and years and years of me being on other people's stages, and building organizations, and building different things with and for other people.
Sure.
And a lot of times what happens, not a lot of times, I mean, I would say there's been two or three real disappointments, and then attending things, and over the years, and going, because you should be educating yourself, and attending things, and putting yourself in environments where you feel uncomfortable, to learn, to stretch, to grow.
What?
And what has happened, and this, go ahead. Do you have a question?
Well, what do you mean when you say disappointments? Something told me to stop there and ask you to say something about that because it's important.
Yeah, I mean disappointments as in, people hold themselves up to be, a charitable organization that's supporting charities, and and then they don't. They
Mhm.
bring in hundreds of thousands of
Oh,
dollars
yeah, 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 yeah.
for themselves, and then the charities, you find out later, got maybe $1,000 or something. I mean, anything is good, but there's all, there's those ulterior motives that are either pure or they're not. And there are organizations, there are events that are heart driven. Power of We is one of them, that
Mhm.
is 100% spirit, love, whole. It's got the right heart.
Yeah.
It's true sacrificial deal. I mean, it's cost you, it's cost, the donors, everybody that has supported it. There's no profit for you in that. You know?
Lord, no.
So, and you still
Not
do it.
not fiscally,
Yeah,
but
not
there's
fiscally.
but there's profit in places that have nothing to do with routing numbers or account numbers.
And
And
that's the difference. You just spelled it out for me. And then you go to these other events, which are, people get on stage and it's a 45-minute curated sales pitch instead
Mhm,
of adding value to the people that are in the audience. And that's
mhm.
the majority of what's going on out there, right? And I've complained and I've bitched and I've moaned, and my team said to me, Jason, you tell people all the time that if something isn't the way that it should be, then they should fix it themselves,
That's
right?
right.
Why do
Yes.
you continue to complain? And I was like, man, that's solid. That's a real, wake up call for me to look in the mirror. And so I looked at Unstoppable, which is perfect timing for us to do it anyway, because I've got the consulting company where we help businesses. And our motto there is to help good people make more money, get more time so they can do more good. Right. And then we've got the Bald Avenger brand, which is out there championing philanthropy and charities, and through a celebrity brand, through comedy, through politics, through through the Bald Avenger show, and that perfect culmination, which, as I was on this rescue mission, this over the Super Bowl weekend, it became crystal clear to me, brother, that what we're doing is bringing together companies, which I have the resources, that what I do, and what we help companies grow
Mhm,
on one side, and then supporting charities on the other. Charities need money, right? And businesses want to have a place where they can, where their efforts and energy are working beyond them. And bringing those two things together is what Unstoppable is all about. We're going to have, people from almost $1 billion net worth that are going to be in the audience, much less the stage, in the audience, and companies that we've helped make millions and millions of dollars that are going to be sitting next to people who are probably going to have to be sleeping in their car because they're sacrificing to be there.
mhm.
And what's going to happen is there's no pitching from stage, right? That's our rule. There's no pitching from stage. Our speakers are all going to be tasked and have been tasked, and we've had a meeting with them. It's been really great to teach from three perspectives. One is they're going to teach what would they tell their younger selves to
Mm.
avoid the pitfalls, and the those mistakes that they made. What
Always
are
a
they?
good question.
It's
Always
a
a good
it,
question.
and some of the stuff that I'm getting, man, like I'm so excited just to listen to the people that are going to be speaking, because they're like, Jason, I've never said this stuff publicly before, and I'm like, that's what we need, right? And then I want them to teach from what are they doing right now that is putting money in their pocket, helping them be physically fit, energetic, relationships, and personal joy, right? And what do they see coming in the future? And zero sales pitch, because here's how I believe, and this, you've been around me for years now, that I believe that if you add enough value, people will realize if there's a match for them needing to hire you, or to hire your company, or to engage in your services, that it will be a natural conclusion that you should do business with me.
Yeah.
Not a forced, manipulated, hypnosis, NLP,
Yeah.
curated 45-minute sales pitch
Yeah.
to trick people into giving you
Right.
their last dollar.
Right.
It should be, oh my God, my company would benefit from doing that. Personally, I should hire Loren as a coach. Like,
Yeah.
these things should be a natural conclusion based on your competence and your level of service.
Now let me ask you something at that point, because this just happened to me. Like last week, I don't always just completely shut the door to a mindset. And so over the last 6 months, I've been watching who reaches out to me from, say, LinkedIn.
Sure.
Okay, because I never look at myself as a business person. It's like I
Right.
have low self-esteem in that area, and blah, blah, blah. And so I've been
You're much better
listening
than when I met you.
yeah, I'm getting there. And so you know what I'm talking
I
about.
do.
And
Mhm.
so there was this company that was about, how we can help you on LinkedIn and this and the other. And they were out of Berlin. And so we had a 40-minute discovery thing on Zoom. And I'm not kidding. And here it was, a $25,000 commitment.
Mm.
And he was like, "So are you ready to get started today?" And I was like, I have a husband. I can't be making those kind of decisions by myself, And I'm like, and I thought he was joking. I was like, quit bullshit. You crazy,
Yeah.
And he was serious. He just kept doing it and doing it. And of course, bye,
Yeah.
Felicia.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, but then what stuck with me later was exactly what you just described about that hard sell, because I was like, well, if he does it, it must mean that event somewhere down the road it works, or he wouldn't do it.
Right.
And
It does work because let me tell you why it works. This is a really great realization for people to understand, is that everybody's running around looking for the easy pill, right? They're
mm,
looking for that button that they push that goes that helps them avoid the hard work and run them to the finish line. And I mean, look, we've sold over $2 million of our 12-week course, right? The growth course, Mastering Your Business G-Spot. And not $1 of advertising has been spent on it. And the reason is because we tell people up front, right? We tell people up front, this is going to be hard work. It's going to be information that you probably haven't heard before, or you've heard it, but you've been putting it into practice out of sequence, right? Doing the right things at the wrong time or the wrong things at the right time. And